guys? Welcome back to the Football Corner Podcast. I'm your host, Jeremiah Queen. And if you have not been or viewed or listened to this podcast, whether it's on YouTube or on a podcast app, go ahead and click that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you can stay up to date when new videos drop on the YouTube channel. Also, if you listen to me on a podcast app like Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or Spotify, go subscribe to the podcast. Week 14 has come and gone. And let's start this episode with talking about the Chiefs. There's a lot to unpack here. But the one thing I would say is that I predicted the Buffalo Bills will beat the Chiefs. At this point in the season, through 15 games, 14 games, the Buffalo Bills are a better football team than the Kansas City Chiefs. I know it's hard to say that. It's hard to embrace that if you're a fan of the Chiefs because they are Super Bowl champions. You got a two-time Super Bowl champion head coach and quarterback, two-time MVP quarterback. But the one thing that I've noticed is that they have a big problem, and it's the receiving core problem. It's been their problem since week one. And it starts with a guy named Kadarius Toney. He had a pick six in the opener against the Lions, and he had a huge drop against the Bills, and then he was offsides. And then it came out that he was offsides 4 different times in that game, but only got called once. So cry me a river if the refs don't give you a break 4 times, Kadarius Toney, or the Chiefs at that. The one thing I did notice about the Kansas City Chiefs and Pat Mahomes, everybody want to have their own way of looking at it with Mahomes being upset on the sideline. The first thing I took away from that was that Mahomes is frustrated with his team and his teammates and his receiving core underperforming week after week. But unfortunately, because he's such an upstanding guy, upstanding teammate, he doesn't put the blame on his teammates. He put the blames on himself. And then this time, he wanted to blame his teammates so bad that he just went after a ref. I mean, if you look at the way he was reacting toward the referees, it was ridiculous. You got to keep your composure. But I give Pat Mahomes the benefit of the doubt because in that moment, he was pissed. And the real reason why he was pissed was because of not the refereeing. It was because of his teammates and the wide receiver play on that team. The Kansas City Chiefs could kiss that home playoff goodbye. You're not getting it. It's not going to happen. The Kansas City Invitational is not a thing anymore this year. And, of course, maybe I get a little too ahead of myself, but they're only one game ahead of the Denver Broncos, who are storming and have been playing really good football in November and December. Kansas City Chiefs have a lot to look at for the rest of the season. The rest of they got 5 more games to go, 4 more games to go. In the next 4 games, they have like a lot of things to look at. It won't be easy, it won't be pretty. But if you're the Kansas City Chiefs, you have to determine who's going to be your number one receiver going forward. That's not Travis Kelce. I really do like the rookie receiver, Rashee Rice. He has performed at the highest level for this Chiefs team so far this season. He did have that fumble that was costly, and he has had drops, and certain plays has not gone the Kansas City his way this season. But I do believe the Kansas City Chiefs has the opportunity to right the wrongs that have happened so far this season. But for the first time ever, Pat Mahomes will have to play a road playoff game after he wins in the wild card round. You have 3 teams that are actually going to be the hunted, in my opinion, so far this season through 14 games. It's going to be the Baltimore Ravens in the AFC is the only team that I feel like everybody's be gunning for because they, as of now, are the sole possessor and the number 1 seed, and they have the chance to have the playoffs go through Baltimore. But if you look at the NFC side of things, the Niners are the number 1 seed, and the Cowboys are the number 2 seed as of now. The Cowboys beat the Eagles in a game I predicted the Cowboys will win because the Cowboys at this point in the season are a better team. The Eagles are spiraling, but luckily the Eagles in the last few games of the season, they are playing weaker opponents, including playing the Giants twice. So then the Eagles still have a chance of winning that division because tiebreakers, all these scenarios work in their favor and the schedule's easier. But if you're the Cowboys, you just went out. Whatever happens, what the Eagles do the rest of the season is not in your control. You went out because Dallas, if you get 2 home playoff games as being the number 2 seed, if you get 2 of them, you will be going to the NFC Championship game. Mark my words. This is something I truly believe that the Cowboys will be able to do. I think the Cowboys are just that good of a football team. I think the only team that's standing in your way as of this moment is the 49ers. The 49ers are the best team in football. At least they're playing the best football so far this season. And we'll see who's better between the Niners and the Ravens, I believe, going towards Christmas time. They play each other in the regular season. That should be one of the best matchups of the season. We will determine who is the best team in the NFL in that game. But the Niners, they do what they have to do. They do what they should do, and they beat opponents that they feel like they're superior than. They had a little lull in October when they had lost 3 games straight, but since those the 3 games, they have not lost a game since then. And the Niners are 10-0 when Deebo Samuel starts a game this season. 10-0. That just says something. The impact Deebo has on this football team is it's mind-boggling. It's amazing. He is one of their driving force of what make this team goes. And he carries that mentality, that tough, gritty mentality of what the 49ers want to play with, being a tough football team. And then Brock Purdy's playing like MVP, so that helps as well. And then let's go to the Baltimore Ravens, a team that you want the number 1 seed, but the last time we saw the Baltimore Ravens have the number 1 seed was back in 2019, and it lost in the divisional round against the Tennessee Titans. I don't believe this is the same Baltimore Ravens team. I think that their defense is way better, and Lamar Jackson is more mature. Even though he was an MVP that year in 2019, I think the Baltimore Ravens are a more mature team this year, and Lamar Jackson has so much experience under his belt. In 2019, he was a second-year player and still was very, very young. And the playoff atmosphere was pretty much new to him. It was only his second playoff game in his career, him losing to the Chargers in his rookie season. I do believe that the Baltimore Ravens are the team to beat in the AFC, and they will have the number 1 seed when it's all said and done, because the playoffs will go through Baltimore in the 2023 playoffs. Before we end this podcast episode, there is a team I do want to talk about for the next 60 seconds, and that's the Miami Dolphins. And the Miami Dolphins are 9-4, and they dropped a game against the Tennessee Titans in a game that you should have won. And the one thing I've learned about the Miami Dolphins is that you still have not proved to me that you're a good football team. You are a team that can win games against weaker opponents, but then you lost against a weaker opponent. I believe the Buffalo Bills still have a chance of winning that division, because now the Dolphins dropped one. They left it wide open for the Buffalo Bills to creep back in to that position. With that being said, thank you for listening and watching the Football Corner podcast. If you want to follow me on things I do outside the channel, like via my social media pages at the Football Corner podcast on TikTok and Instagram, you can check out the content there on my social media platforms. Thanks for watching and listening. See you next time.